And I realized that, hey, this might work because Bob, in his mind, Dr. Bob Frederick had what he was looking for.
Mm-hmm.
And he said later that I checked off all the boxes for him with the exception of one, is I'd never been a head coach. But he trusted Coach Smith, trusted his own gut feelings, and got the chancellor to go along with it. They were about the only two people that ever wanted me there. Everybody else was questioning, who is this no-name assistant coach? Yeah. But Coach Smith did, and his presence and the respect that people at Kansas had for him was the only way.
Yeah.
And but we got started, and then the key after that, the number one key, 1 through 99, was Coach Smith, but key number 100 was the players. When I first got there, they had just won a national championship. And now the bad thing is Danny Manning and Chris Piper that left, that kind of thing. But Danny Manning was the National Player of the Year. But we had some guys who had played in the national championship game, and they gave me a chance, the very first day. When I told them, this is what we're going to do, they accepted it. They didn't question me. This guy's never called a timeout. This guy's never coached a game. And see, for me, 8 years, as I said, I coached the JV team for 8 years. And so those 2 practices every day, and on game nights, I coached 2 games.
Yeah.
But I felt like that was good preparation. But the kids gave me a chance, and it was Milton Newton, Mark Randall, Kevin Pritchard, Scooter Berry, Jeff Gellner, Sean Alvarado. I can name everybody on that team without missing one, I guarantee. But they gave me a chance, and we got off to a great start. We were put on probation for what had happened the year before. Before we got there, we didn't have anything to do with it. But so we couldn't play in the tournament, but I was named National Rookie Coach of the Year. And then the second year, we were really good.
Yeah.
And we spent 13 straight weeks at 1, 2, and 3 in the country. And regretfully lost in the NCAA tournament, Sweet 16. But so those kids at Kansas, I've always said I owe them. And just saying that doesn't even come close to being it what it truly is.
For sure. You're in Kansas. You have like I said, that people don't understand how much further that goes and you probably know this better than anybody else. When the kids like the coach, it goes a lot further.
Yeah.
And because they're the ones have the produce, you see what I'm saying? And they want to play for you. That makes a whole lot of difference. And just accepting coaching, because at the end of the day, we talked about, everybody can't play for Coach Williams. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be particular. And it's not even like it's a scary thing. It's just like, you have to share the ball. You have to play the right way, or I don't care how good you are.
Yeah, you're not going to play.
You're not going to play. And that's what it came down to. And I fully respect that. I want to ask you this. One team at Kansas that you thought should have won it.
1997.
And you were at Kansas how long?
I was there 15 years.
15 years
15
at Kansas.
years.
1997.
Went to the Final Four 4 times, lost national championship game twice. But in 97, we lost 1 game at Missouri where Jacques Vaughn, who coached in the NBA, slapped the ball loose. We're up 1, clock's going down 10, 9, 8, 7. He slapped it through the Missouri player's legs, and it bounced to another Missouri player, and he shot it, and it went in right at the buzzer, and we lost by 1. And then we didn't lose again to the NCAA tournament, and Arizona beat us in Sweet 16, and they won the national championship. But it's still emotional for me thinking about that team. When I was fortunately, I was inducted into the Hall of Fame in 2007, I think it was, and I apologized to the 97 Kansas team, and 4 of those guys were there, and they came up to me and said, how dare you apologize to us on one of your biggest moments? But we had such a good team. We had Jacques Vaughn, NBA player and coach, Scott Pollard, first-round pick, Rafe LaFrance, first-round pick, Paul Pierce, first-round pick, and I'd recruited all of them. And then the 5th star was Jared Hass, who ended up being a college coach and a whole bit. But we were really good. But Jared broke his wrist and tried to play in the Arizona game, but just couldn't play. And it was so sad. But and they had Mike Bibby, and
they were good.
They were good. They had 4 guys. In fact, Lute Olson, their coach, said they underachieved all year until they got to the NCAA tournament. But they had 4 guys that played in the NBA, Jason Terry, Mike Bibby, I'm losing their name here, but they were really good. Jared said, "Coach, give me a chance." And I'll never forget that I said, "All right, this is your warm-ups, the shoot around." And I said, "Shoot a free throw." And he shot an air ball. And he started crying. He said, "Coach, just give me a chance." And I knew what he had worked for his whole life. That's what he wanted. So that night I started him. And the first play, he denied this left hand, knocked it loose, went down, laid it up left-handed. And he shot 3 more times and never hit the rim the rest of the night. So he just couldn't play. And we had Miles Simon and Bibby were the 2 coach guards. Jason Terry was the 3 guard front for him, but we didn't have enough defense to stop those guys. But that is to this day, is still the biggest regret I have.
Gotcha. Yeah, it's tough. Them losses, they definitely sit with you.
Yeah, and we lose to Villanova on a last-second shot. And that wasn't easy.
That wasn't easy. We're going to talk about that one. We're going to get to it.
Okay.
Let me ask you this. Cool. You're Carolina Blue through and through. You go to Kansas for 15 years. What was it to make you come back?
It was strange because Kansas gave me a chance. I said the athletic director and the chancellor were really the only 2 people that wanted me, but everybody, by the end, they were very pleased with what we had done. So in 2000, they asked me to come back at North Carolina when Coach Guthridge retired. And I had promised Nick Collison, he was a freshman, I'd promised him that I would be there because a rival school said that if you go to Kansas, Roy Williams is not going to be your coach. He's going to go back to North Carolina. But I'd promised Nick I would be there. So when they asked me the first time, I couldn't ever justify what I was going to say to Nick. And I know that sounds crazy to some people, but I'm crazy.
For sure.
But so I didn't come back. And then when they came back again 3 years later, Nick had graduated. We'd lost in the national championship game to Syracuse. And it was a horrible loss. All of them are, but we shoot 57% against Syracuse's zone. We lose the game because we were 12 for 31 from the foul line. 12 for 31, and we lose by 3.
That's rough.
And so then, they asked me to come back, and Nick had graduated. We had changed athletic directors, and that changed my job dramatically. We just didn't hit as well as Dr. Frederick was. And then they asked me to come back, and I felt like Coach Smith, Nick Collison leaving was the biggest thing, but the second thing is Coach Smith said, "We wanted you last time. We need you this time." And that meant a great deal to me too. And so it was coming back home. My children were both living in North Carolina, and Wanda had gone to school at Chapel Hill, and both the kids had gone to school in Chapel Hill. And it was what I thought at that time was by far the best thing to do, and it worked out okay.
It definitely did. I appreciate you coming back.
Yeah. I was so happy about it too.
Yeah, for sure.